What's your experience at a haunted school? I work at a small language school in a big city, and we had a bathroom ghost for a while. Mostly it locked stalls from the inside and cracked open the paper towel dispenser at opportune times, hitting people in the head and so forth. Then it moved to the hallway and we would have strobe mornings. I felt bad for it. Anything that has to haunt a bathroom, did some flurbo up stuff to get there. Our old elementary building was haunted by several things. The creepiest of which was, at night, the corridors weren't lit up all the way, so you'd have a section that just kind of faded into darkness. People say that if you walk far enough, you'd see a rocking chair facing away from you in the distance. You'd hear it creaking, as if someone was sitting in it and rocking themselves back and forth, and with each creak, you'd supposedly see it inch closer and closer towards you. At the college I'm at, my brother and some of his friends were using a Ouija board in their dorm suite, and they came in contact with the spirit of a kid named Alex that was stuck on campus in the student center. They looked it up after the session and found out that the story of a kid named Alex was found dead after he froze to death and was found near the baseball fields in 2016. It was crazy to them apparently, but I can't be 100% sure if the story is true since I wasn't there with them. The story of the kid is true, but IDK if they looked it up and are pretending that they made contact, but I don't think they would do that, and I didn't see any indication that they weren't being serious, no matter how much I deny it. I feel my brother would have also told me about it by now if it was a fake experience. Well, here's how the story goes. My previous school had been completely knocked down and replaced with a new school. A couple of months after we had moved into this school, some mysterious things started to happen. Firstly, we were doing a drama lesson in the studio, and close to the end of the lesson, we all heard an old doorbell sound. The whole class was completely shocked and stories started to spread around the school. We believe the new school was built on top of an old Victorian house. I have no idea, but that is one explanation. Secondly, my music teacher told us of the time, in the old, knocked-down school, that when she went into another room to get something, all of a sudden, the piano in the previous room started to play, only about 3 to 4 notes. As she went back inside, nobody was there. Finally, again in the old school, my physical education teacher was sitting in his office when he heard footsteps running down the hallway. He went outside and claimed to have seen an apparition of a small boy at the far end of the same hallway. Nobody was there because it was at the end of the school day. He went back into his office thinking nothing of the little boy and then came back out and called to him, but he was not there. Thing is, the hallway leads to a dead end. Where the boy was standing. The school principal strangled his dog to death in the school basement because she was pregnant and he didn't know what to do with the puppies. You can still hear faint wheezing, as if somebody is grasping for air. That's how the story goes. This happened around 6 years ago when I was 11 or 12. My mom is a teacher at a local school, and when she would go and do extra work on the weekends, me and my brother, sometimes friends too, would join her and play in the gym while she did work. We would always get creepy vibes being in the school and would all be quite uneasy while inside the school. Several times we were there, we experienced hearing muffled voices from the washrooms and overall, very weird noises around the school when no one else was there. Most of these occurrences I would blame to be due to us trying to scare ourselves and from being paranoid while at the school, but this one time, it was just me and a neighborhood friend playing in the gym as we usually would. We had the usual eerie vibe of being at the school. We were about to leave and were cleaning the gym up when I saw the figure of a faint man in the hallway, which looked to be wearing a gown similar to what you would have at prison and was carrying a broom. Me and my friend both ran out of the gym, and the scary part was that we both saw the same thing during that occurrence. We explained after what we both saw and it matched up pretty much exactly. Keep in mind that what I saw was not a living being. There was no one else in the school besides my mom and no other cars in the parking lot. The person was very faded and almost a blur. It's hard to explain. I can assure you that this story is completely true, and my mom still teaches at the same school, but I haven't been going to the gym for years. I work at one of my local schools. I was grading papers and posting the grades late in the evening since they were due last night. The custodians stopped by my room before they left for the day to wish me a good night and safe travels home, so I knew that I was going to be the last person in the building, aside from the security who stays at the guardhouse outside at the gate. I continued grading as normal, and after about 40 minutes, I began to hear odd noises. Nearby my classroom is an elevator, and when my classroom door is open, I can hear the ring when the elevator arrives to my floor. As I graded, I continuously heard the elevator doors open and close, as well as it shifting from floor to floor. I assumed the custodians were doing one last inspection of the classrooms, so I was not really concerned. I began to get suspicious when this kept occurring because A. There are only 2 floors and B. The custodians would not need to keep traveling up and down for inspections. Sure enough, I stepped out my classroom and saw that the hallway was completely empty. I checked down the hall nonetheless to look inside other classrooms and found out that I was indeed alone. I figured they were downstairs, so I went back to my room to continue grading. About half an hour later, I heard giggling and a cart being pushed down the hall. I felt relieved at the time because I thought that I was right and that it was the custodians still at work. Since it is a very short hall, I figured that when they passed by my room, I would laugh and tell them about the elevator and how it spooked me. The rolling continued, but they never came. A solid minute or 2 passed and I could still hear the rolling of the cart. I got up to see where they were at in the hall, but the moment I got up, the rolling ceased. I briskly walked to the hallway to find that, again, it was empty. I felt a pit in my stomach and decided to go home. I packed my things and headed downstairs, hoping to see the custodians in the lower floor. It was empty as well. Trying to muster up all hope and courage, I began walking through the dark campus towards the parking lot. A part of me was praying that I would see their cars out in the lot, but my suspicions were confirmed when I found that my car was the only one left on campus. I, of course, drove as fast as I could to the gate, but I found that it was locked. I got down and knocked on the door of the guardhouse, but no answer. I looked inside, it was empty. Turns out that everyone left around 10 to 10:30. I was truly the only person at campus. I actually had to call the principal to open the gates for me. I currently go to school at a private school, and it is split into 2 buildings. One is an old train station, and the second building was a paper press building or something like that. My school's buildings are very old. They were made in late 1800s to early 1900s. The owner of the paper press building had a brother, and a few years before the school opened in 2012, he had gone into the elevator, and the elevator had fallen and he died. When the other building was still a train station, 2 people had died from the train. One was a suicide and the other was an accident. This is my first year at this school and I'm currently in 9th grade. I always have to go into school around an hour earlier than school started because of my mother's work. There is only one teacher there when I arrive at school. Every morning, I always hear tapping on the window. At first I would think it was a tree, then I would realize that there aren't any trees around the windows. One night, I was at my friend's house, who lives a mile from our school, and at 2 to 3 in the morning, we decided to go for a walk. We went to the school because we had nowhere else to go. We were just sitting at the table behind the school and all of a sudden, every window that we could see there was banging. This was enough for us to run home and not look back. In the paper press building, sometimes if I'm there in the morning, I will hear an elevator moving, then the door opening, and then footsteps coming from upstairs coming down. Upstairs used to be a bowling alley, and I was there with my teacher catching up on work, and we both heard bowling ball banging and rolling. There is nothing up there anymore besides really nice floors. This experience happened when I was a student at Olympia Heights Elementary School in Miami, Florida. I believe I was in 4th grade at the time, which made me around 10 years of age. Now, I have always been into the paranormal and would always play Bloody Mary and sit with my peers outside and talk about scary stories, but this was my first experience of now many. On this particular day, I was upstairs in a classroom that was positioned next to the main staircase of the school. It was afternoon and I had to use the restroom. So, I raised my hand and started towards the facilities. For context, the doors on the bathroom were big heavy metal doors that made loud noises when opening them, as well as when they were shut. I opened the door and went inside. I have always been a bit of a germaphobe when it comes to public bathrooms, so I would always check every single stall to pick the cleanest one. The bathroom was empty, and most of the stalls were gross, except the first one nearest to the door. I start to do my business when all of a sudden, I hear the roll of paper in the stall next to me rolling. For more context, the toilet paper holder is metal, so when someone rolls out some paper, it's incredibly loud. At this point, as I'm now rushing to finish my business, the roller is getting faster and louder. I finally finish and run out of the stall, not caring if anyone hears the loud noise. The moment I swing open my stall door, the toilet paper noise stops, and as I'm opening the big metal door to get out of the bathroom, I take one glance back to see the stall empty and with all the toilet paper in place as it should be. Ever since that experience, I never used the bathrooms in that school again. A lot of the times, I would get close to soiling myself, and my mother would try to convince me to use them when I needed to, but I would rather embarrass myself than have to experience something there again. It's been many years since this experience, and since I've even lived in Miami, Florida, I have experienced many more things and some that seemed harmful even, but I'm just coming around to telling this and my other experiences with others. I went to a small school, Hyatt High School. It's in Louisiana and it's on many paranormal websites. It has a history of strange stuff happening, but I never noticed anything strange when I attended the school. It was shut down until one day. Some friends and I were in the gym, just goofing off, nothing serious when I distinctly remember hearing whispers. Like little kids whispering, to which I paid no attention to it. Then we had a brilliant idea of going into the basement, the dark basement. I'm not sure why we chose to, but the whole time, I felt as if we were being watched, but still I didn't pay any attention to it. We went down below and the air was incredibly thin and cold, which is weird for Louisiana weather, but it did. There was a door on the other side of the room which led to an exit. It was an old white door, and I remember putting my ear up to it because I heard a strange noise. This is going to sound crazy, but this what I heard, it sounded like hooves trotting on a hard surface, similar to cobblestone, and it got closer and louder till, in my opinion, it sounded like someone slapped the door as hard as they could. We took off running, of course, but it doesn't stop there. There are these huge metal screen doors that were in place of the equipment room which is located near the basement. As I ran by them, the door flung open and hit me. These doors aren't little either, they're massive. The whole time, I felt like I was being chased. When we got out, I felt so relieved that this evil thing wasn't there anymore. I also noticed 3 distinctive marks that look like scratches alongside my upper right chest as well. I haven't been near that door or that place unless I'm with a pack of people again.